Berachain is outperforming massively. The question is why? What's going on here? Who is buying here? Who's selling here? My impression is that the retail investor was betting on falling prices, and the big guys, the market makers, they are loading up. They are buying more and more Bera. Because have a look at this. This is the TVL, the total value locked on the Berachain over time. This does not look great at all. We used to peak at above $3 billion. Now we are at below $100 million. And interestingly enough, AI cannot give us a good answer to what's going on. Apparently, it's a liquidity-driven speculative surge. And the secondary reason is no clear secondary driver. Really, artificial intelligence does not know what's going on here. But in this video, we are going to discover what's really happening. On Bera, we only had 40 million worth of trading volume in the last 24 hours. Compare this with Arbitrum, almost 10 times as much. And compare that with the base chain. Here we had 1 billion, so that's 25 times the trading volume on Bera. My impression is that many people were betting on falling prices of Berachain, and there was a good reason for that. We did as well, right? In premium, we bet on falling prices of Bera way back. We closed that position before the surge, but there was a good reason to be bearish and to be not that optimistic about Berachain. One of the reasons was the overall momentum. This here is Bera relative to the others market cap. How is Berachain doing relative to all other altcoins? And it tended to trend down quite consistently, an underperformance of more than 90%. But then something happened. Then suddenly Berachain went up, came back down, and here is our recent rally. We are up again. This rally very likely is caused by too many people betting on falling prices. Have a look at this. This is the number of circulating Bera tokens over time. And we are very close to a new unlock. The number of new Bera tokens is shooting up, and that increase usually would depress the price. The problem is when too many people are betting on the price going down like this, then the market makers have an opportunity to manipulate the price. Here was our first short of Bera on this channel. So this was a trade announced to the premium members of this channel on May 26th of last year over here. Since then, Bera, even after this recent rally, has underperformed by 68%. Now this recent rally seems to be now deflating again in a very similar manner to what we have seen on the 6th of February already. We are shooting up quickly to then coming back down again. And the reason for those quick appreciations with subsequent declines tends to be market manipulation. If enough people are bearish on Berachain, it can be profitable to manipulate the price. Because here's the thing, crypto is not just about buying and selling tokens. Crypto is also about betting on token prices. And the bets on token prices tend to get more and more trading volume over time. And that trading volume matters. Have a look at this. This is the funding rate to bet on the Bera price over time. It tends to be negative most of the time. So the people that bet on falling prices have to pay the people that bet on rising prices. It costs money to bet on falling prices of Berachain. This is not usual. For most altcoins, it tends to cost money to bet on rising prices. We tend to gain money when we bet on falling prices. Not so for Berachain. I think the reason for that is just the token unlocks. Too many new tokens over time tend to, at least over the long term, depress the price. Over the long term, not necessarily over the short term. And when the funding rate is negative enough, it makes sense for the market manipulators to push up the price. So fundamentally, what's going on is that there are companies that offer bets on the price via the perpetual futures, but at the same time, they have an impact on the price development. So they offer, for example, to bet on a falling Bera price, and then if enough people enter that position, they just manipulate the price in the opposite direction. So imagine you were a sports betting house, you would offer, for a soccer game for example, if team A or team B wins, everybody bets on team B winning, and then in the end you bought the referee, you let team A win. This is pretty much what's going on here with crypto. Too many people are betting on Bera to go down, and you just manipulate the game. You simply just push up the price. And the reason why I think that this is what's going on is, first of all, the funding rates that are massively negative, but secondly, also the token unlock, right? If there's a big unlock event happening, then shorting a token becomes more popular. And so then short squeezes, that's a technical term for what's going on here, become more likely. From the bottom to the top of the short squeeze, we appreciated in Bera by more than 300%. Every single short investor got wrecked here. And we can see this in the numbers, right? The liquidations for Berachain on a single day amounted to almost $9 million. The trading volume is also at all-time highs if we ignore what happened during token launch. So a lot of activity, and the open interest, the amounts of bets on Berachain, that's also rather high. And so what I think is going on here is just short-term manipulation. The question though is, how long will this manipulation last? Because that's the fundamental issue here. If the market manipulators are going to continue to push up Bera because more and more people continue to bet on falling prices, squeezes like this can happen for a long time. In the end, it's all about market cap. How much money does it cost to further manipulate the price? And the problem is that Berachain has a market cap of only 200 million. 200 million is not much for crypto. 200 million can very easily turn into 400 and into 600 and into 800 million. Usually the cap for manipulations like this is in the billions, in the $2 to $3 to maybe $4 billion. Rarely do we see worthless tokens reach more than 4 billion in market cap, but 4 billion versus 200 million, that's quite a bit of a step. So the market makers definitely still have a very easy game manipulating the price further. We have not reached the ceiling at all. And so the question really is, at what point are we going to go back to normality? At what point will the market makers not feel comfortable anymore holding a token that inflates at that rate month over month? Of course, long term, nobody wants to hold an asset like this. But short term, right, when there's enough people betting on falling prices, when funding rates continue to stay negative, Bera can potentially go higher and higher. At some point, there will be a turnaround. And so I think it's best to simply wait until the current momentum slows down. Then, of course, still, it's better to be too cautious and too optimistic, because every now and then we do see secondary short squeezes. A rally like this attracts a lot of attention. People will try to find new entry opportunities for a short position. It's not necessarily an uncommon strategy. The problem is, of course, if too many people do this, we get secondary squeezes, as seen on the 17th of January of this year. This is very common. A third short squeeze is very unlikely. They tend to not happen because enough people already got burned on the asset that a third leg up tends to not happen. And so there's many ways to play the game, right? We could bet on a falling Bera price right now and then set a stop loss and be okay to get stopped out and then maybe re-enter a short again here. We could also enter a short with potentially a very loose stop loss that we do not get stopped out, but potentially double down on the position as we rise further and further. The only important thing is that some kind of risk mitigation plan is in place, because again, we are currently only at 200 million and we could easily double and triple from here. At some point we will come back down. The question is only when. Is this the top, or will the top be seen in a week or 2 weeks from now? I don't know. I think it's best simply to wait a little while and simply have Bera on the watch list. So maybe revisit the token in a week or two when nobody else looks at Berachain anymore, and then as we slowly creep down over time, at that point when the momentum is already negative, then enter the short, because then it will be much less popular. The attention will already have moved to another asset at that point. What I find fascinating is just how bad the altcoins are doing. This is the performance in the last year, and just have a look at how poorly some of those altcoins did. Minus 84%, minus 95% even over here, many minus 80s as well. And the others dominance, the measure of how much of all of crypto is currently in the altcoins that are not in the top 10, that's going down since the beginning of 2022. The altcoins have underperformed on average by 62%. Now this is only measured in market cap. And there is a strong distinction to be made here because market cap developments are very different from price developments. Here is what I mean. This is how many new tokens get unlocked every single week, at least for the tokens that have been tracked on Tokenomics.ai. This tends to be close to 1 billion of additional potential sell pressure. So early investors, venture capitalists, they get tokens that they can unload. The team, they get tokens that they can then sell. There's always a party that gets those new tokens, and that might lead to additional supply, depressing the price. Really, the reason for this are people like this, Andreessen Horowitz, or like this, Sam Altman. On the topic of Sam Altman, right, the founder of OpenAI, he's also supporting a project called WorldCoin. This is the number of WorldCoin tokens over time. And of course, developers and investors get more and more tokens unlocked every single month. And so this is then what that means. Just have a look at the following two data points. So we've got the WorldCoin price close to $10 over here. It lost 95% of its value. It's currently at 40 cents. Have a look at the same data point in terms of market caps. That was at 1.4 billion and is now at 1.3 billion. So the market cap has barely changed. The market cap maybe went down by 25% or so. The price went down by 95%. That difference is token dilution. That difference is payouts by the Andreessen Horowitz and Sam Altmans of this world. That's why the picture looks the way it does. And so there are two potential ways to deal with this, right? We can just forget about the altcoins altogether because it's a rigged game. Or we can try to take this market structure to our advantages. We can bet on falling prices of altcoins, and that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. Here is my monthly outperformance over buying and holding Bitcoin over the last 5.5 years, roughly. The dotted line here, that's the 12-month moving average. So we are now close to an all-time high in terms of 12-month outperformance versus Bitcoin. And that's then my portfolio. That also includes dollar cost averaging. So that's a combination of saving money and outperformance. The outperformance over here is, by the way, 2.3% per month if we average out all of those data points. And so I started a copy trading pool last year as well. Bitcoin during the time period lost 25%. We made 17.3%. And so there's another copy trading pool this year, 2026. It's described over here, the relative valuation altcoin trading. It's running on a platform called Hyperliquid. 10% of the gains are profit share. There's a 5% deposit tax. And there's also other strategies that you can take advantage of. For example, here, the Ethereum trend following. Over here, the Bitcoin trend following. Here's our performance for Bitcoin trend following. It's currently got an APR of 55%. And here's our performance for the Ethereum moving average vault. It made 40% so far, and it's the best performing trading strategy on the entire platform. Ethereum trend following is on Gravity. So those are all our automated copy trading capital pools. This is all available to the premium members of this channel. Premium is available for $125 per month. You can simply just deposit on the first month, and if you don't like the content, if you don't like the additional videos, etc., you can actually unregister after 1 month and just keep your capital running. If you want to save some money, you can also sign up for the yearly membership. Then you get $250 for free, and then you can also include the relative valuation trading capital pool. So the capital pool where we bet on falling altcoins, that's only available to the annual members. The other two trend following strategies, they are available for all members, so also for monthly subscribers. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in Premium. Cheers.